there are lots of good things in my life that I'm pretty sure don't come from God. Or at least they seem like they would continue to be good, whether or not God existed. Then I realized it was because of God guiding me on my own invisible path through life that I even discovered those things in the first place. And the reason they were even there to be found by me was by God working in similar ways in them. That doesn't even make sense. I'm Chris.
I'm Syd.
Welcome to Clothesline, a lighthearted, dark-humoured podcast for people who grew up in cults.
We're two non-binary people who have known each other since we met as kids on a homeschool blogging site.
Here, we're digging deep into how we grew up in fundamentalist, evangelical cults and how that's impacted our lives since leaving.
This episode includes conversations about things like religious trauma, mental health, abuse, and other topics like that.
We aren't doctors or psychologists. This podcast is not intended to give official advice or anything serious.
We're simply here to share our stories and talk about these things in a very real and human way.
Our intention is for you to feel less alone, less crazy, and more supported.
Now let's get into it.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, that was perfect.
Perfect. It's
no
almost
need
like
for a redo.
No. Oh, thank God.
I'm so sorry that my inner child is annoying.
No, it's great. Trust me, it's great. I need to stop moving around so much. That's one thing I noticed is that I'm never centered in the frame, and it drives me fucking crazy. I don't know how you do it. You're like the same the whole time.
It's probably because I do life modeling and I'm used to holding still for very long periods of time.
What if you have an itch or something?
Like, you scratch it, but before I scratch it, I make a mental note of exactly, like, where are my fingers, what part of my body is my hand resting against, if anything, like, or if I'm, like, holding a stick, then, like, what is the angle of my arm? And then I'll just go, like, you know? But I can always ask the artist if I'm not sure, like, hey, does this look accurate or not?
Intriguing.
It's very fun. There was a little, like, shakeout period, so we did 20 minutes, and then I kind of shook everything out and then went back into it. So, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I've been reading Educated by Tara Westover, and half of the book takes place when she's homeschooled, and then half of it takes place when she leaves and goes to college. And so I'm currently reading the parts where she's in college. And that made me think of the journals I have that I wrote when I was in Christian college. And just for some light reading before we came on here, I decided to flip through one of them, and I had to, like, smoke a cigarette.
That good, huh?
I have selected a selection. Of said journal to share because it relates to Calvinism, which I know we talked about last week, but I had some further reflections that I told you about in a voice message. But basically, so, like, the perseverance of the saints says that God has decided who's saved and who's not saved from the beginning, right? And no one can tell. And some saints might walk in sin for a while, but in the end they'll be saved. And, like, you can't really tell the difference. And so I realized, well, wouldn't Christians who believe in Calvinism treat everyone as though they were a saint? Because we can't know, wouldn't they just, like, assume the best? But then I realized, well, no, it's part of the doctrine that humans are fallen and sinful by default. So, like, I guess I kind of just talked myself back into where we started.
No, like, that's actually a perfect loop, because since we're naturally terrible, we would then treat everyone as if they're not a saint and needs to be converted, just in case, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and also I think us going in a perfect circle is also indicative of the cyclical nature of this. Like, you really can spend all day talking yourself in a circle with this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense. And we did. Go listen to episode 7.
Yeah. God, I can't believe we've done 7 episodes.
Just wait for the double digits.
Oh, I'm excited.
Just wait for the triple digits. Sorry, am I getting ahead of myself?
That's even more exciting if people can deal with us for that long. No, like what you were saying, I mean, back in episode 7, I mentioned that I had a friend back then who had this like really thick book, like chunk of a book, all about Calvinism and Presbyterian theology. And, you know, I don't know what flavor of Presbyterianism it was, but it was all about all of that. You know, it gets deep. So, but I think that she asked a very similar question as you did. And I think that's what was very confusing to her, was that she was kind of wigging herself out by like, wait, but if this is this way, then wouldn't they treat people this way? But then that doesn't make sense with this. And yeah, very confusing. That was the first time that I'd really thought about it like that. And it was very confusing.
And that's the thing, when you start questioning things, you do get confused. And confusion is such a foreign state that it's very distressing when you experience it. And so it makes you want to run right back to it. That's actually a perfect segue for this journal entry. So, so this was written 2 days before my 20th birthday in 2012. I was working at a retreat center run by OCF. Have you heard of OCF?
I don't think so.
Officers Christian Fellowship. It's basically a club for Christian military officers and their families.
Whoa.
And we spent every Sunday and every Christmas there, or every Sunday. We spent every summer and every Christmas there for years. And you would see the same kids every year. And because everyone was in the military, everyone understood each other. And it was like the one constant place in our lives where you would go every year and see the same people.
Yeah.
And so I started going there when I was a little kid, like 9 years old. And by the time I was 20, almost 20, I was working there as a paid staff member. I was the official title was Fine Arts Coordinator. So every week we had new families come in. The retreats were week long. And so every week I would put together a slideshow of like all the pictures I had taken that week. I was also in charge of music every night for the worship sessions.
That's a big responsibility.
It was. What else? When I got there, I was having kind of a crisis of faith. I had just had sex for the first time, like literally 2 nights before I left to go to the camp. And so I was feeling really, really guilty about that. And I was like self-harming again. And I was like becoming obsessed with food again. And then at that moment, about halfway through the summer, that was when I was most vulnerable and most miserable. I decided to become interested in God again. And so when I wrote this, this is like the last stab of an attempt at faith that I had. But man, was I trying. So Sunday, 15th July, 2012. As I try to open my mind to God and all the implications that go along with the concept of God, I have begun to develop a genuine interest in Scripture for the first time in my life. Now that I've given myself permission to doubt it, I'm finding that the more I read, the more timeless wisdom I find and the closer God actually seems. A few months ago, I was reading Psalm 16, which proclaims that apart from God, we have no good things. My first reaction was the same I had been experiencing for years. That's not entirely true. There are lots of good things in my life that I'm pretty sure don't come from God. Or at least, they seem like they would continue to be good, whether or not God existed. Then I realized it was because of God guiding me on my own invisible path through life that I even discovered those things in the first place. And the reason they were even there to be found by me was by God working in similar ways in them. That doesn't even make sense. Everything happens for a reason. I am still learning to recognize God in different opportunities and encounters, and sometimes it's hard to maintain an open mind. I need to continuously ask myself, do you know everything? No? Then maybe you could learn something from this. I was almost 20 years old.
I'm like actually crying a little.
I was crying, and while I was smoking my cigarette, I was like fully crying.
Bro, I need a cigarette.
Isn't that just, there's no words.
There must have been very similar, because like it hits hard, because I had that exact same mentality And like the journals that I burned would have definitely had stuff like that in them, like 100,000,000%.
I did think of you while I was reading it. I was like, man, I kind of see why they burned them now.
Mm-hmm.
But like the relief I had in giving up everything to God was so tangible because I had been struggling with doubt for so long and my mental health, and I didn't know where to turn to. And so it was such a relief to be able to imagine that I'm on an invisible path and I don't know anything. And so I just need to trust that all good things come from God. And like, you know, without God, there are no good things.
Yeah.
There's no room for error. It's like so black and white.
Yes, I was just thinking that. Yeah, it really creates such, like, saying that it creates like a boxed in way of thinking is such an understatement. It just creates so much fear. And like, fear is the underlying, like, I mean, if you actually read it, or at least read like the stuff that, you know, Jesus was saying in the New Testament, everything you do should be motivated by love, right? But
you would think so.
People never adapted. They just kept getting off on the control and using fear as like the foundation of everything. And that's how all of this just continues. It just keeps people in a cycle of fear of like, there's nothing good outside of this belief system. Absolutely nothing. And you're fucked if you leave, you know?
Yeah. You're a piece of shit, naturally.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said control and fear, because the journal entries preceding the one I just read, one of them was all about control. Like, I need control. I'm out of control. You know, in this strict religious environment, maybe I should become out of control because that would gain control back in a way. And yeah, then there was another one where I was just talking about how scared I was that everyone secretly hated me and that I was never going to do anything significant with my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I just need to trust God.
Yeah. And I guess that's why, like, when you have direct teaching that there's nothing meaningful outside of a life within this belief system, then I guess like that's why so many of us wanted to go into like some sort of ministry or like the mission field when we were out of school as a career, because that's the only way we could, like, especially us creative types, that's the only way we could like contextualize our desire for a meaningful life, you know, is like, well, we must have to like have this deep ambition and drive to stick within this system and make a difference that lasts so far after we're gone. You know, it's not enough to just do anything outside of that. You know, I mean, at least the way that I was taught, it's like nothing is adding meaning to the world unless it's really within this belief system.
It was a little bit different for me because even before I graduated high school, I knew I didn't want to work in a church. I was one of those Christians that was like, I'm going to infiltrate secular media and make really good stuff so that, you know, I'll get their attention. But then I ended up making websites for churches. The Christian school where I went from 2010 to 2012, I was in their advanced media program, and I had been promised that it was cutting edge, multifaceted, because my specialty was like web development, like I said, and that college was known for their television production. Like since the 60s, they've been broadcasting their like chapel services all over the world.
Whoa.
There were a lot of international students that came to that school because they'd seen the broadcasts. So
wow.
I got admitted to the program and I realized, oh, it's all TV. So I know a lot about TV production. That's not what I wanted to do. Like, they have their students do every single production role for the chapel broadcasts. So like 1 week we would be filming it. 1 week we would be the person that holds the cords. 1 week we would be directing, you know. I guess in retrospect it was a cool experience, but to the point, most of the people that graduated in that class went to churches. They ended up working for mega churches, essentially. And I just remember thinking that sounds so miserable.
Yeah. Even though I ended up working for a church, that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that was more like hands-on. So like if I hadn't moved to Hong Kong to work for the Redeemer Presbyterian, Tim Keller's church plant. My other option was to go to Greece and teach art. By working for the ministry, I think it was for Mission to the World, is like the program that I was wanting to go into in Greece. So by working for technically like a missions organization, but doing something kind of like secular, it was very similar to you, because I was like, I don't really want to work for a church, but I want to like infiltrate, which I think actually really ties into exactly what you were saying in the beginning about how people just tend to treat everyone like a conversion project. I don't know if you remember me talking about like my mom has a Catholic friend, and they are like worried for each other's souls because they believe differently. You know, like
it's kind of cute, I guess.
It's like kind of wholesome.
It's kind of endearing.
Yeah, but like,
but also fucked up.
Putting that energy into so many different things, you know?
That's what I meant. Like, yeah.
The fear. The fear. Like the creature from the Black Lagoon or something, like fear.
Oh, why did I rip off my headphones? That's going to be annoying to edit.
No, it looked very passionate and cool. Don't edit that out.
Okay, cool. I won't.
If you're watching, leave a comment about how cool it looked when Chris ripped their headphones out in passion while screaming the fear. Listeners, support me here.
I don't know how to move on from that.
Oh my
Syd,
God.
move us on from that.
All right, moving us on. I think this is also a very good segue into some, I guess if you really boil it down, the part about my family member who mentioned being afraid to advocate for themselves. I feel like that's directly tied into fear as well. So for context, I have a family member who I was talking to recently, and they were saying that like at a work-sponsored lunch or something, you know, they always ask, do you have any dietary restrictions or something like that? And my family member is gluten-free and has like very bad reactions when they eat something with gluten, but never says like, oh yes, I'm gluten-free, because they're afraid of being like high maintenance or someone having to cater to their specific needs or something like that. And that's something that I have also historically struggled with, that I don't struggle with anymore, which, well, I won't say at all, of course, but like I struggle with it less in certain areas. And I think part of that is also because of the film industry, which I'll like, it's not related at all to like Christianity or whatever, but I think it provides like a interesting additional context to like how I helped myself get over that. Basically, I'm still trying to figure out how exactly to word it, but when I'm on a film set, it's very mentally and physically demanding. And if I do not advocate for myself, then I will not be able to give the energy that being on a high intensity, stressful, chaotic film set requires. And if I'm not performing at my top, then that throws the entire production off.
Yeah.
And then that creates a whole domino effect of problems. And I know because it's happened before. So I have to advocate for myself. I have to tell people if I have a headache and they give me a painkiller. I have to tell people if I can't eat that. You know, do you have anything else? I have to like make sure, like they're there to make sure that I'm able to give what the job needs. And I think that's a very powerful visualization for me because, you know, like I'm still very afraid, for example, to like if people misgender me, for example, and it's like a close friend or even just like a random person, I'm still very hesitant. And I normally don't say anything to correct them because I'm afraid of being high maintenance. And I mean,
we're millennials too.
Yeah. So we got like the whole stew of all of the like issues that have created this kind of like fear of requiring any extra additional care or something like that. Fear of advocating is more, I feel like, in line for me. and my family member as well. And so, you know, I've really been thinking about this over the last week, and I've been thinking about like how, you know, growing up with all of this doctrine that we've been talking about and like everything has just created this fear of really like taking up space or requiring anything extra, and how harmful that is. So like this family member thought it would be okay and didn't say that they were gluten-free, and then ended up getting sick.
That's also a really powerful visualization for what happens if you don't advocate for yourself.
That's what I'm saying, is like it's the same as on a film set. Like, except on a film set, if you're not performing, depending on the issue, it can disrupt the continuity of the scene. It can cause a delay in filming, which can cost like thousands of dollars, if not more. So with high stakes like that, I had to learn to be honest and not just do the whole like thing I was taught to do growing up, which is just like power through it and tough it out, you know, because ultimately like that's just going to cause major issues, whether it's on a film set or whether it's work or whether it's your own mental health. So, I mean, it is something that I work through in therapy a lot, but it is very directly tied into being, you know, raised and trained up in the way as, you know, women/females. We weren't allowed to take up space. Like if we took up space, that was like kind of side eye, you know, raise your eyebrow at those people. Like they're too outspoken. They're too
They
much.
just want attention.
They need a man to like control them or something, which is even more messed up. But yeah, I hope all of that put together ends up kind of creating like a thought bubble that's fairly fleshed out, because it's been living in my head for literally the last week or so. And yeah, I've been like really unpacking that. Do you have thoughts?
Oh my God. I need a sip of water before I share my thoughts.
Oh my God, I just grabbed my bottle at the same time as you.
Wow. I have so many thoughts. I mean, where do I even start? I was always taught to take care of other people before myself as the oldest of 7, and then later as someone who took care of a parent. I couldn't depend on anyone else to take care of me. And yeah, I could never really ask for help, especially as the oldest. Like, you don't have an older sibling. You don't have peers at school, you know, when you're homeschooled. You don't have teachers you can go to. You really don't have many avenues of asking for help, except for like your parents and God. And that's it, because you don't trust the government. You don't trust, you know, people who aren't in the group. So all that to say, I kind of did associate asking for help with that like bratty quote unquote behavior. Like it was selfish. And I have talked about this on my other podcast so many times, how selfish is not a dirty word. Like we grew up thinking it was, because like you're taught to abandon yourself, to die to yourself. Like these
Verbatim.
are strong words that we're using, you know, trust not in your own understanding.
Yeah.
And I had very early on very intense feelings about things and lots of thoughts, because I was neurodivergent, undiagnosed till my early 30s. But now that I know that about myself, I really had a lot of energy and no channels for it. And so I just kind of kept it inside. I kept all the bad stuff inside. I kept all of my hobbies to myself. I didn't think anyone would even care. So I never shared myself, really. I didn't want to take away attention. From what? I mean, like it would be an inconvenience to take my parents' attention.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point.
I'm just realizing that. Yeah, like what's so bad with... That's another thing. Much like being selfish, it's not bad to want attention. Like, if you're alive, you need attention.
Yeah.
Like, everyone needs attention. What are you talking about? Like, especially if someone makes a bid for attention, then they fucking need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't do any of that because I And I was shy and introverted and naturally. And so it was so much easier to just not take up space and just kind of never rebel. And, I didn't want to draw attention to myself ever. And then, of course, like once I became a teenager and developed an eating disorder, it was like I was literally shrinking myself. Connie's here.
Connie break.
Look how big she is.
No.
Say hi.
Hi, Connie. Oh my
Say
God.
hi.
I hope people are watching this. Oh, I love you, Connie.
But yeah, anyway, all of that to say, I've had eating disorders for so many years because I'm so uncomfortable with taking up space, like physical space and the other kind of space, you know? And so I noticed as I realized I was queer and started advocating for myself more, like breaking up with my boyfriend and, deciding what I wanted to be called and like what pronouns I wanted, that was all ways of taking up space that I wasn't used to. And so I kind of thought that once I came out as queer and embraced that part of me, that the eating disorder would just like disappear. But it didn't. And I don't know, this conversation is just reminding me how deeply ingrained it is. And it's not just unique to the way we grew up either. Just like women in general, or people who look like women. It's a heavy conversation because, like, what does it mean to take up space? And what are we afraid will happen if we take up space?
Yeah, it's just so different than the narrative that so many of us grew up with, where we're just supposed to be shadows in the background, So it's like, are we even equipped to be able to handle being seen?
Well, and also, this has to do with purity culture too, because I remember hitting puberty and all of a sudden I was getting a lot of attention from men and it was scary. And so that's another thing that plays into the eating disorder, is just not wanting to be perceived or ogled.
Yeah.
Or it's oh my God, sorry. There was a marble. I have this fidget marble that I got at a glass blowing studio in my old town.
That's a cool marble.
Right?
It's like Dalmatian.
Yeah. So I just like fiddle around with it and Connie just discovered it. So
yeah. Now both of you have to fight over the fidget marble.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I wouldn't have been able to really understand or even get to practice speaking up for myself if I didn't work on film sets. I mean, of course there would have been opportunities, but nothing that was like as high stake. Like that's a pretty extreme environment, And I think it really has over the years taught me a lot about advocating for myself. It's a very good environment to practice in.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that it has kind of also, I guess, shown me that it's safe in my outside of a film set life to also speak up for things. And sometimes that's as small as like, oh, actually, I don't want to drink that. I want to drink something else.
Yes.
Or actually, I want one more bite. I don't want to stop now. Like I want to just take one more bite.
Imagine the audacity.
Yeah. I did that last night. I was so proud of myself. I was like,
I'm proud
I want
of you.
another bite. I'm going to do it. And I did it. And that just like those little things. Thank you. Those little tiny things actually like amount to so much and show me that it is safe.
And the people around you matter too. Like the friends I have now, I feel safe to quote unquote disagree. Because in my mind, advocating for myself equals disagreeing with others, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's not what it is at all. Like, they want to know what I need. How the fuck else are they supposed to know if I don't advocate? It's like drawing boundaries. People can't respect your boundaries if they don't know your boundaries. And that's another lesson I had to learn recently.
And if they don't respect your boundaries, then throw them in the trash.
Yeah. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries, throw them in the trash. Hang them up to dry.
Hang them out to dry on the clothesline.
On the clothesline
on
of sin.
The clothesline of sin?
The clothesline.
Did you just say the clothesline of sin?
The clothesline of fear. Is that better?
No. The clothesline of sin.
You know what happens to people who go into heathen party mode? They get strung up on the clothesline of sin. I can't even talk.
If this is your first episode listening, that's going to sound very out of context, but sorry.
Just trust us.
Just trust us.
It's funny.
Yeah. We should start a hashtag heathen party mode.
Oh my God, yes.
Can you imagine? Should we rename the podcast to Heathen Party Mode?
No. Maybe.
Or the clothesline of sin?
No.
Oh my God.
I think we need to have a segment where we talk about Heathen Party Mode.
Do you know the podcast Stuff You Should Know?
I don't think I've listened to it, but I know what it is.
It's so cool. And so their episodes are a bit longer, but then they have these like mini episodes that they call short stuff that are only like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or something.
It still sounds pretty long for my attention span. Podcasts are different. Why is a 10-minute YouTube video considered long, but a 10-minute podcast is considered really short?
I don't know, because like you don't have to watch the video. You can just listen.
True.
You can also put it on 2x speed.
I don't like to do that. I heard myself at 2x speed once, and it freaked me out.
Oh, yeah. I listened to stuff on 1.5 because my auditory processing can't handle 2x. 1.5 is like just enough. Yeah.
That sweet spot.
It's the sweet spot. Because I talk real slow, you know. Being from Alabama, I just kind of draw it out.
Oh my God. I quit one of my jobs this week. Actually, my last remaining job. I had 3 jobs before I got disability. I worked at a grocery store, I worked at the overdose hotline, and I edited audiobooks. So I left the grocery store when I moved here to Richmond. I left the hotline a few months ago. And then, I realized, like, with disability, I don't have to work. And just saying that, I feel so much shame. Like, if I'm not working, do I deserve to exist? But then I thought, like, I don't know, when else am I going to have this chance to just focus on creating? You know? Like, I've been writing a book for 7 years. I haven't made a lot of progress on it. And now that I have this end in sight, all of a sudden I have so many ideas, and I'm just, like, really looking forward to the future. And, like, I have ambitions. But I don't know. I don't even know why I started talking about this. But it's so fucked up that, like, the only way that I have this is because I'm on disability. And the reason I'm on disability is because I worked for over a decade not advocating for myself and ignoring things that were very wrong with my health and trying to force myself into this box, you know? And I got to a point where I was broken. I was non-functional. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, you know, but that's how I got disability. And, like, I'm one of the lucky ones. And that's so fucked up. Like, it shouldn't be that way.
Do you think that some of the guilt or the shame that you feel comes from knowing that you're receiving and you're not, like, it's not transactional?
It feels like I'm being high maintenance.
Because we have to earn any sort of, like, basic care that we get. Yeah. Oh my God. God damn it. Just a little food for thought. A little thought snack.
A little thought snack. Yeah, that's so true. Like, when we advocate for ourselves, even the way we've been talking about it tonight, we're kind of acting like it's this big thing, but really it should be casual. It shouldn't mean anything. It should be so commonplace to advocate for yourself. Just like it should be so commonplace for people to get their needs met and assistance if they need it. Instead, it's this huge deal if you get it.
Yeah. It's also just keeping people in this cycle of fear.
Yeah. I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
I'm, like, just thinking about it now.
Is that a stopping point?
I mean, that'll be the shortest episode we ever did.
True.
I feel like there's one more thing we could talk about.
We could make our announcement.
What announcement?
Our collaboration.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. We will be collaborating very soon with Jacob from the podcast Ex-Homeschoolers Club.
So excited.
Yeah, Jacob's a very cool person, and it'll be very not only exciting, but also cathartic and probably pretty nerdy to talk about all things homeschooling in depth with him on his show. So if you don't listen to or follow Ex-Homeschoolers Club, go check it out and stay tuned for both of us causing some chaos.
That's right. We're going to be stringing them on up over at the club. I don't know.
At the club. I'm going to go to the club today. Which club? Ex-Homeschoolers Club.
The coolest club in all the land.
Jacob's listening is like, would y'all just shut up? Sorry, Jacob.
I just assume that nobody listens to this, to be honest.
I feel like that's kind of the best way to approach this. Otherwise, we just work up all that tension.
Well, speaking of Jacob, I was listening to a recent episode of his, and at the end he mentioned a book club he's doing. So at the end of August, he's inviting listeners to join him on Zoom for free to talk about Educated by Tara Westover, the book that I mentioned earlier. Jacob is the reason I'm reading it, finally. It's been recommended to me by so many people.
Yeah, same.
And it's just blowing my mind. I have so many thoughts. I mean, the way she was raised was very different. Like, her dad basically shut them off from society, and it was like a prepper situation.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, 4 of the kids didn't have birth certificates, and, like, they didn't believe in going to the hospital. Like, it was that kind of environment. Wow. So, like, way more extreme than what we were raised with. But her relationship with her dad just breaks my heart. Because, mild spoiler alert, halfway through the book, she starts questioning whether he might have bipolar disorder, because she's finally in college studying mental illnesses and stuff, and she's realizing, wow, that's like dad beat for beat. And then she's realizing, well, maybe the things he did wasn't purely out of malice. He legitimately believed the things that drove his actions, you know? It's like, of course, pro-lifers are so passionate. Like, they literally believe babies are getting murdered, you know? And so that's just had me thinking about my relationship with my own dad. And, like, it's not just mental illness, it's neurodivergency, which growing up in the church kind of felt like the same thing. Like, autism was kind of seen as this, like, disorder, disease, whatever.
Like, why are people so hyperfixated on it? It's a neurodevelopmental condition that a heck of a lot of people have and probably don't realize. It's not better or worse. It's just different.
It's just different.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as any sort of condition.
But that's the thing. Being different is scary. You couldn't be different.
Yeah.
You know? Or, like, you masked the difference under the guise of, like, devotion or fundamentalism or whatever. If you have a mental illness or if you're neurodivergent, it is very attractive, like I was saying earlier, to have that invisible path lined out for you, to have an answer for everything, to be accepted where you might not be accepted in other places.
Yeah. But then I think a lot of flavors of, you know, neurodivergence, it doesn't really make sense unless it's tangible. So, like, I always had such a hard time. Like, I had brainwashed myself to believing that there was this invisible path that was set out for me. And I tried my best to, you know, keep the faith that that was true.
Right.
But because it wasn't tangible, I couldn't really understand it and I couldn't really believe it. And it didn't make sense. It didn't seem like reliable information. But
that resonates a lot.
I had to brainwash myself to believe that it was reliable information because it's God, you know? But it never truly seemed, dependable.
Yeah, there was always this underlying feeling of doubt that I know now is my, like, inner intuition. You know, my that gut feeling that I just continuously stomped out because it was dangerous. But now I know I should have embraced that, you know. Sorry, it's been a long ass day.
Yeah.
Maybe we should wrap it up.
Yeah. This was a very good conversation.
It was really good. Oh, I was going to say, if anyone wants to join that book club that Jacob's running, there's still time. Oh, wait. When this comes out, you'll have 2 days to read Educated. Never mind.
Read the Cliff Notes.
Or, if you've read it before.
So if I have not read the book, do you think it'll still make sense for me to join?
Probably, as long as you don't mind spoilers.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Okay.
All right.
I love this southern accent you've been doing.
I don't know why. I don't do it in any other part of my life.
It's probably because you're spending too much time with me and you associate me with really being...
It's true. I do tend to speak like people that I hang out with a lot.
That's the autism.
Bye.
Let us know how we triggered you.
Clothesline Podcast is a labor of love by and for survivors of religious trauma. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, share Clothesline with a friend. To sign up for every new episode, subscribe for free at clotheslinepod.substack.com. Want to go the extra mile? Support us on Patreon and get access to bloopers, journal entries, and more. If you could relate to this episode, we want to hear from you. You can follow Syd on Threads at HouseGhostCreative and Chris at XCJumperX. We hope we'll see you next time.